Welcome to I'm Busy on Purpose, the podcast for small business owners who are over the hustle, the overwhelm, and that constant pressure to always be doing more. If your business feels like it's running you instead of the other way around, consider this your wake-up call. Here, we're going to slow it down, cut through the chaos, and actually take back control. I'm your host, Lucy Carter, and I'll be sharing real stories to help you feel less alone and practical tips that won't scramble your brain even more than it already is. Every week, I'll be here to remind you that by reconnecting with yourself, focusing on what really matters, and taking aligned action, you can have a business that fuels your life instead of draining it. No fluff, no guilt, just straight up guidance to help you feel confident, in control, and actually enjoy the ride of small business ownership. So go grab your coffee or your wine, there's no judgment here. Take a deep breath and finally give yourself permission to do business your way. Hey everyone, welcome back to I'm Busy on Purpose. Now, today's topic is something I've wanted to talk about for a while. It's something that has bothered me and shown up in my life and in my business too many times. And I do believe that it's something that we all struggle with. It doesn't matter how much success you have, somewhere down the line, it will reappear its ugly little head. And that, my friends, is comparison. So I'm not going to sit here and give you all the bullshit, fluffy stuff of like, you just shouldn't compare yourself. You're amazing as you are. You are. You are. And I'm saying it now. You are. Don't compare yourself. But I'm not going to talk about that in this episode. I want to talk about what comparison actually is. I want to talk about where it comes from, where it stems from, why it fucking shows up, why it's happening to us. Because I personally do not believe that comparison means that you are necessarily a jealous person. I also don't believe that it means you're shallow, and I don't believe it means you're behind. Yes, of course, there are some people out there that are just a jealous person and can be a bit shallow, but I honestly just think comparison is, regardless of that anyway, I actually just think that comparison is our insecurities fucking yelling from the rooftops that you're not capable, you're not enough, you're a fraud, you don't know enough. And for a long time, that fucking annoying voice ran my life, let me fucking tell you. And I have always felt like my self-worth sat in two different places. So for me, it was how I looked, my appearance, and also how clever I was, how smart I was, how much I knew about something. So if I felt attractive, then I felt like I had approval. If I felt intelligent, I felt like I had value, I was valuable to people. And if someone gave me a thumbs up in any way, whether that was a teacher, a man, a boss, my audience, a friend, then it meant I could just take a huge deep breath and be like, oh, okay, that means I'm good then. That means I'm good enough. So that external validation honestly felt like some sort of fucking oxygen source for me. And without it, it kind of felt like I couldn't breathe. I was suffocating. Like without it, it was like, well, I can't be good enough. Like no one's applauding me or no one's telling me I'm good looking or whatever. And when those things didn't happen, it was just like the worst thing ever. It was like, okay, well then I'm not of value or I'm not beautiful or I'm not this. And that, in all honesty, guys, has led me down some negative paths. And those negative paths have been with men. I would choose situations where I was trying to be chosen, um, and not actually being like, is this person right for me? In business, I have made decisions that looked good on paper, but they certainly weren't aligned. I didn't even know what fucking alignment meant, to be fair. And I was holding myself back because there was like this invisible force that just kept saying to me, don't go too big, Lucy. You're not actually that good. You're shit at what you do. You're not as good as this person. And it's really, really taken me years of my life to realize that that force didn't just appear out of nowhere. It wasn't just fate. It was actually just years of conditioning. Now, I don't want to go too sciencey on you and whip out the fucking the school book, but I do want to share the psychology behind why it happens, because I think if we can understand why it happens and where it comes from, then we can really kind of handle it a lot better. So there is a psychological theory by a psychologist called Leon Festinger. I don't know if that's pronounced properly. But there is a psychological theory called the social comparison theory. So he actually found that we evaluate ourselves by comparing ourselves to other people. Now, that's especially when there is like no clear measure of how we're doing. So there's no like tangible thing that we can compare ourselves to, right? So when you scroll your social media, now I don't know about you, but I know that I have definitely done this, and I'm probably going to hazard a guess that this has happened to you before or is happening to you. But whatever you're doing, whatever your business is. So for me, as an example, my business is hair and makeup. So in the past, I have scrolled through social media, seen somebody else's work and been like, fuck, that's amazing. And then I sit there and I go, I'm not that good. I wish I was better. I wish I was as good as that. My work's shit. And then you go and compare yourself, you go and compare your work, like, oh, my eyeliner doesn't look like that, or the lip liner's not that good. Like all this stuff starts coming into your head, and you just feel that like subtle drop in your stomach. Now, that feeling, that whole scenario that I just explained, that's not random. That is your brain interpreting comparison as a threat to belonging. Let me digress on that a little bit. So if we take it back to caveman days, then, we felt safe, we felt secure, we felt part of our survival was being in a tribe, felt we belonged to something, we could contribute to something, right? So when we get that feeling, when that comparison drops in and we feel like we're an outsider, we're not good enough, we don't belong, then that triggers to our nervous system that we aren't good enough and we're like trying to survive to belong. And so when you feel behind, your brain doesn't just think, oh well, it doesn't just think, oh, okay, you're behind, that's all good, don't stress. Our brain goes into overdrive and it actually activates that threat circuitry. So as soon as you look at something and think, oh shit, I'm not good enough, I don't belong, that feeling of like fight or flight, like I need to belong, I need to survive, like, oh my God, I need to get better, it activates that threat circuitry. And that feels really goddamn personal, right? And it feels really urgent. It feels real. It feels like I don't know for you, but for me, there's been times where I'm like, I need to do this now. Then you might see somebody's social media post, and you're like, oh, they're killing it. They got all these likes and all these sales. They're telling us that they've got all these sales from doing posts like this or whatever, and then you feel this urgent need to just jump on it now. Right, okay, I've got to go do this now. I've got to go and write a post just like this. And it feels real. That sense of urgency, that threat, that feeling of like, oh, I'm not good enough. I've got to do this because I need to belong and I need to be the same as everybody else, right? That is because that is real. Let me just first say that it is very real, and it's real because to your nervous system, it's real, right? And this is where things can go a little bit deeper. And I want to talk about this a little bit more. So take, for example, right, my example of me saying that I, previously would look at somebody else's work and I'd self-compare and I'd feel really shit and I'd go down a rabbit hole. I don't necessarily do that now with my makeup work, but it's showing up for me with my podcast, right? This is where I want to talk about why this happens and how some people can kind of look at somebody else's work or see somebody else doing well and not be bothered by it. So for me now with my makeup stuff, yeah, there's some stuff where I'm like, oh God, that's great. Like, oh, wish I could do that. But it doesn't get me to the point of like the spiraling, the downhill spiral, the fucking negative talk. It doesn't get to that point anymore. But with the podcast, I'm starting to feel that creep in again. So I really wanted to try and understand why this was happening and where it comes from. Because obviously I've figured something out with my makeup stuff, right? So the reason why that happens is it comes down to our self-image. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I feel like I might have done, but there's a book that I read years ago and it completely shifted the way I thought about myself, about life, about other people. And it was a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And I read it like multiple times. And it's not the kind of book that like you read once and it's done. You have to read it multiple times to really kind of understand it. And he says that in the book as well. But also, something he says in the book that really stuck out for me was you will act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. I'm going to say that again. You will act like the sort of person you conceive yourself to be. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I hope it did with you too, because literally whatever we believe about ourselves, we will behave that way. And when you behave a certain way, you become a certain thing and you receive certain things around you, right? What you put in is what you get back. And we're just literally like fucking robots, let's be honest. Like whatever we input into ourselves, the belief system, the words, other people's bullshit, like we absorb that and we project that back out. And if we don't work on ourselves, if we don't try and heal this kind of shit, then it becomes really unhealthy and can really affect our mental health and what we actually achieve in life. So because I suppose back then, because deep down I did conceive myself as, I conceived myself as only worthy when I was being validated by other people. I was only lovable if I was attractive. I was only valuable if I was smart enough. So then, of course, I kept chasing all of those things. And of course, I absolutely kept putting myself in situations that reinforced that identity, even if they were hurting me, even if it wasn't serving me. So that self-image for me and for most people, really, for everyone, self-image is actually formed early on, and it doesn't have to be through this one dramatic moment, although that's a contributor. If you've had traumatic moments and dramatic moments in your life, of course, it's going to be a contributing factor, but it's actually through repetition. So it's through the little things. It's through somebody's tone of voice, someone's facial expressions, that someone's offhand comments that they, it's a throwaway comment for them, but to you, it sticks with you forever. It's the way you're looked at by somebody. It's the way you're spoken about. It's all of those things that kind of contribute to this build-up of why we feel this way and why we tend to think these things about ourselves. It's an accumulation. And this is where it gets a little bit tender for me. Because I don't really talk about this side of my life too much. Not that it was like super traumatic or anything, but I suppose we're talking about repetitive things that can create negative beliefs about ourselves. So for me personally, I believe a lot of my insecurity stems from my upbringing. And I believe that my mum has had and has some really deep insecurities. And that's about her appearance, it's about her self-worth, it's about how she was perceived, about how she is a mum, like all of the things, right? And while I don't necessarily fully believe she intended harm, um, at the time, maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I'm choosing to not believe that she did. Um, but she would give me backhanded comments about my appearance, especially my weight. And I was also bullied in school. I was also about my weight and my looks and stuff. So um, I have always had this self-image in my head that I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm not, and so my mum's backhanded comments about my appearance, those subtle little digs, the comparisons to other people in my life. She'd say things like, "Oh, it's just puppy fat." you know, "You're beautiful, but it's just puppy fat. You'll lose it." And it's like, it was so conflicting how she would say these things. But to me, I was like, so you're just confirming what, my bully's saying to me, or you're just confirming my own negative thoughts instead of actually just being like, you know, you're beautiful as you are. Don't worry about what other people think of you. And she probably did say things like that, but it was always with this backhanded compliment as well. Um, so those words, they didn't just land and disappear for me to never think about them again. They stuck around and they have, shaped my journey on life and have held me back, right? Those thoughts have held me back. Those words have held me back. And even just as simple, I'm going to be real honest here, like getting my hair cut. I said to my therapist, I was like, it was only like that week when I was going to go get my hair cut. And I said to my therapist, I was like, I've actually been thinking, like the words are stuck in my head, and my mum's words are going, "I don't like your hair short." Like that stuck with me. And it's just like, so cutting my hair was very much a rebellious thing, but I wanted to cut it short, but it was also like a fuck you. I will be who I want to be, and I will cut my hair short if I want to fucking cut my hair short. I don't need to be validated by your approval that you don't like my hair short, or you do. Like, what the fuck? Right? So her words actually just confirmed a story that I was already forming for myself, right? So that happened over years. It was the small little things. It wasn't some big, huge thing. And, children don't actually have critical thinking around this kind of stuff. We don't think, oh, that's her just projecting, We think, oh, that must be true about me. And there's actually research that shows that like a parent's self-esteem actually really strongly predicts their children's self-esteem over time. So, I'm really cautious of how I speak about myself in front of my stepsons, and I catch myself sometimes saying, looking in the mirror and being like, oh, my stomach, or, and I'm really kind of judging myself, and I'd have to kind of catch myself in those moments. But it's also having that awareness that I'm doing it right, and a lot of people just don't have that awareness. And it just becomes who we are. So, over time, when your parents' own self-esteem, lack of self-esteem, kind of kicks into the child's self-esteem, we absorb everything. We have absorbed their emotional tone. We have absorbed their words. We have internalized what has been modeled for us. So essentially, insecurity is contagious, right? If you grew up in an environment where worth was conditional, similar to mine, where it was like, it was based on looks, it was based on, not necessarily for me, but like a lot of people, it's based on achievement, like, what scores they got in tests and all of that stuff, about being impressive, about, being easy to deal with, being the good girl, the one who doesn't talk back. If you have grown up in a childhood, in an environment like that, then of course comparison 100% makes sense. And I honestly don't think that there's many people that haven't grown up in an environment like that. So when it comes to, building a business, as an adult woman, or a life that actually matters to you, when all you've done is ever, or when all you've ever done is, seek safety through approval, then, right now, as an adult woman, I'm still searching and scanning for that safety, because I'm waiting for somebody to tell me, good job, or your hair looks good. Like, I don't need that. I need to feel that within myself, because otherwise you're still measuring, you're still checking, you're still asking, like, am I enough yet? Am I good enough yet? Am I worthy enough yet? Am I capable enough yet? And here's the truth of it, right? And here's the plain facts. Your brain prefers a familiar identity over a happy one. Get that. Your brain prefers a familiar identity over a happy one. So essentially, we're actually just choosing to be this way, to feel these things and to think these things. And that may sound a bit brutal, but we have the power to change that identity. But if you don't choose to change it, if you don't acknowledge it, then you're never going to have a happy identity, right? So if your internal blueprint is saying, I'm only worthy when I'm validated, or I'm only worthy when whatever, then succeeding without that validation can really feel unsafe, because essentially that just completely contradicts the identity that we've created within ourselves, right? That is why growth feels really icky and uncomfortable. And that's why, visibility, showing up online, putting your business idea out there, whatever it is, right? It feels really scary. And also that's why any kind of expansion in your life, it can trigger comparison instead of, that boost of confidence. So when you do expand in whatever way, in a positive way, right, that actually does build your confidence. But it's in the moment, it triggers that comparison theory in our own heads. So it's not going to be unfixable. You're not going to be like this forever. Like I said, you can change that mindset. You can flip that blueprint to work in your favor and to give you more confidence, right? It's just that you're operating from an old self-image. So after all that information, you're probably thinking, well, how do we change it then, Lucy? How do I flip the switch? How do I change my blueprint? I did grow up in an environment where it was very conditional on what I looked like, or how much I achieved, or what grades I got, or whatever, right? And I don't know how to change that. That's just me. But it's not, right? And the first thing we don't do is force ourselves to be confident or force ourselves into anything. But the first thing we do is by reprogramming that blueprint. And I'm just going to give you a few things that are going to help you to reprogram it. Because forcing it and being like, I am, or, giving yourself these positive affirmations every day ain't going to fucking work. It's on a cellular level. It's in your brain. It's neurological. It's not about just talking nicely to yourself, as much as that's a good thing, but this isn't how you're going to flip the switch and reprogram the blueprint. So first of all, it's awareness, right? And I've spoken about this just recently. But having that awareness, and maybe listening to this podcast today and hearing what I've said has triggered something in you, and you've gone, fuck yeah, I do that. I do feel that gut wrenching feeling when I see somebody else's work or post or whatever, and I feel like I should be doing that, or I'm not as good as that, or whatever, right? So if that has been you today, and you're like sitting here going, that's me, that is you having that. Now you've got that awareness that it's happening to you. So when that comparison does flare up, instead of shaming yourself, ask yourself, What belief about me just got triggered? Yeah, in that moment, recognize that whatever situation, you might be sitting in the doctor's office and you see someone with skinny legs or nice, a nice bum, and you're like, oh, I wish I had that bum. I do it all the time. I check out people at the gym and I'm like, oh, I wish my bum was like that. But it's about reprogramming my mind to, in those moments, go, what is it about me that just got me a bit triggered there? If it's giving you that like not very good feeling, there's admiring someone and being like, gosh, they've got a good ass. Like, and then there's feeling that comparison, that shame, that like I'm not good enough feeling behind it. Yeah. So what is it? What is that belief? Is it that you are behind? Is it that you're not attractive enough? Is it that you're not smart enough? Is it that you're not as good as somebody else? You just have to name it, because once you name it, you can actually separate that emotion from it. You can actually separate from it. So, secondly, it's about mental rehearsal, or visualization, if you want to call it that. And Maxwell Maltz, who wrote the book Psycho-Cybernetics that I spoke about just before, he talked about this a lot. He talks about how our brains, they cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience or a real one. So, when you are reliving a moment in your life that wasn't very good or it was very good, like your brain doesn't know if you're in that situation for real or not. If you think about eating a lemon, your whole body kind of does, your tongue goes a bit wet and sour, and even it's happening to me now as I'm saying it, right? It's Our brain can't differentiate what's real and what's not. So on that note, the visualization and mental rehearsal is so you can start imagining yourself responding differently in these kind of situations where, you might be thinking, oh, every time I go to the gym, I feel like shit because I'm seeing somebody else, they've got a good ass, they've got good legs or whatever, they've got abs. So you might be feeling that way and it might give you a bit of anxiety to go to the gym, and that's why you're avoiding going to the gym. So if that is you and that is a situation that you're in, then you need to sit there and maybe before you go to the gym or every night, imagine yourself at the gym looking at these hot bitches and being like, fuck, you look great. And not actually having any emotion towards it apart from, wow, she looks amazing. See yourself staying grounded in that moment. See yourself staying grounded when somebody else is succeeding. Really visualize that. And if you're scared of getting on camera and doing something like this, because I can tell you 8 years ago, maybe even less than that, I would not have imagined sitting here recording a podcast and putting that out to the world. Like, I just wouldn't have done it. I just couldn't see myself doing it. But I'll tell you this now, a lot of stuff that's happened in my life has been from me visualizing. And you can call that manifestation, you can call it what it wants. It was visualizing and it was being like, I want this so much, or I want to do this so much, and taking action on it. Because that's essentially all manifestation is anyway. But that visualization part of it gives you, it's almost like your body and your brain is then used to that thought or that thing or that situation. So if you are nervous to kind of get online, then visualize yourself speaking on camera, visualize yourself speaking on a fucking stage even, get to the fucking, the bigger picture there. And so your body won't clam up. And don't get me wrong, there's moments where I'm just like, I don't know what to say. And I do clam up, but again, it's that's negative self-talk coming in for me when those moments happen. I'm aware, and now I have to kind of be like, right, I'm aware what's triggered me, what's happened here, and then work on it from there. These things never go away, and I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat anything. Like, you're not going to get rid of this. You're not going to get rid of comparison theory in one area of your life and it's gone in every other aspect. Something else will show up down the track eventually where you are going to feel that sense of comparison again. It's about how we manage it better for future scenarios. So Yeah. See yourself speaking confidently, see yourself making aligned decisions without needing any applause, because we shouldn't need applause to feel like we've made the right choice. We may need um, to talk to somebody to kind of vent things through. But ultimately, our choice is our choice, and your choice cannot be the wrong one. It's just one, as long as it's aligned and you're making that aligned decision, then applaud yourself, girlfriend. Um, so by doing all of these things, by visualizing, by acknowledging and knowing what's going on, by implementing all of this stuff, that repetition will actually start building new neural pathways in your brain. Our brains are so clever. So don't underestimate the brain. We can really, really change the blueprint of our brain on certain levels. It's a lot easier when you're under 25 because the brain hasn't fully developed yet. But after 25, things do get a little bit trickier. But it is in that repetition, in the vivid imagination, the techniques that you do in order to create those new neural pathways for your brain to be like, oh, okay, this is good. This is okay. I've done this before. And it just kind of, it prints it into your brain, literally. So the third thing is to build self-trust evidence. Now, that doesn't have to be some big grandiose thing. You don't have to go and, jump out of a plane to prove anything to yourself, but it is about those little micro moments, right? Those little micro bits of proof. It's accumulated. So it could just be like, I don't make my bed in the morning, but I really want to start making my bed in the morning. Um, and you do, and you do it for 5 days, and you're like, oh, fucking hell, I feel so good. I've made my bed every morning. It builds that momentum, it builds that confidence. And then on the 6th day, you don't make your bed because something happens, or you just forget, or you just don't feel like doing it. And then you're like, oh, fuck, I feel really shit. I didn't make my bed this morning. Like something feels a bit out of whack. That is because you've built this trust and you've kind of done something in order to kind of have lack of trust again. So, it might be like going to the gym and you say to yourself, I do it. I'm not going to sit here and preach to the choir, but I will say, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. And I don't go to the gym because of whatever. I don't just feel shit because I haven't moved my body. I feel shit because I haven't moved my body, but also because my mentally I'm going, I said I would do this and I didn't do it. It's that lack of trust within yourself. So just doing like the smallest things to build that accumulation of trust and accumulation of proof is going to be so beneficial. So maybe I'm not asking you to keep a spreadsheet, but keep track of, boundaries that you've held or not held, risks that you've took, moments where you showed up anyway, even when you really fucking didn't feel like it, because that is like, if you can do that, then your capacity to just push through, and I don't want you to push through to burnout, I'm not saying that, but showing up anyway, even when you're just like, I can't be bothered, is so powerful. And that is honestly going to train your brain to see the capability within yourself. And finally, I want you to start practicing internal approval. Now, we don't need to post and share every single little thing, every single achievement. You make your bed in the morning, you're going to fucking post about it? No. Just it's in those little quiet private moments where you're like, fuck, I did that. I actually did a full week of going to the gym. I actually did a full week of making my bed in the morning, or I handled that well, or I'm proud of that decision, or oh my God, that was so aligned with what I know I want in my life or my business, right? There's no audience required. It's just you silently sitting there going, yay, yay me. So comparison isn't telling you that you're behind or anything like that. It's not, showing you like you need to get your shit together. That's not what comparison is. It's actually revealing where your self-image still needs healing. And you know what? The beautiful thing is that if our self-image was learnt and it's been something from our parents or whatever in our life and our journey, then that also means that we can unlearn it. So remember that you are not your mother's, your brother's, your father's, your sister's insecurities. You are not that offhand comment that your mum threw at you when you were 10 multiple times. You are not that teenage version of you who thought validation was the only thing that can get you through anything. You are allowed to build a life that is not driven by proving yourself to other people. You are allowed to feel worthy without this big fucking show and performance. Right? We don't need to share all of our achievements and all of our greatness to the world. And honestly, when that shift starts to happen, because it will if you do the work, then that comparison, that thing that's kind of holding you back from being greater, from being the person you truly want to be, it loses its grip. And that's not because you become better than somebody else. Like, we're not, I don't want you to become this egotistical asshole. But it's because you finally stop negotiating with your worth. Now, how powerful does that feel to be like, I do not negotiate with my worth because I know my worth. I know and I have conviction in the things that I'm doing and the things that I'm saying and what I believe in and what I'm out there creating. It's that you can't negotiate with that. There is no negotiating. Okay. And that absolutely changes everything. Everything, let me tell you. It has changed things for me, and I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still evolving, I'm still tuning through all of this stuff. But honestly, when now with my makeup work, I don't have that feeling anymore. And it is so liberating and so freeing not to feel so constrained by the chains of that comparison and that chains of that self-worth, that lack of self-worth. And the belief system that I kind of created within that. And like I said, I'm now creating the podcast and these things are showing up again. So it's never ending. It's just now I'm more aware and I can work on this a lot quicker, a lot more smoother. And that's what I want to share with you. Like, if I can do it, then everyone can. Everyone is capable of changing that blueprint. So if this episode resonated with you, then I would really love to hear what belief you're ready to release. So what is it that is causing you, that is triggering you and causing you to kind of stop yourself in your tracks and not feel good enough, not push forward and do the thing, whether that's just in your life or in your business? What is it? I really would love it if you could share that with me in the comments. And as always, guys, I want you to just slow down, create space, be gentle with yourself, and always remember that you don't need a thumbs up. You don't need somebody else's approval to be enough in this lifetime. You really, really don't. And also, if you feel like this episode would be really helpful to somebody you know, please, please, please share it with them. Please like, subscribe, follow. I'd really, really appreciate it, because the more that this message gets put out there, the more people I'm helping. And that's essentially the whole purpose of this podcast. Is I just want to help people just reduce that overwhelm, reduce that pressure, reduce that stress. We already have enough on our plates. Chuck a fucking business on top of it and everything else that comes with that, because it's fucking hard. So I hope that this can help other people feel a sense of release, feel a sense of calm, and feel a sense of peace, so they can actually push forward in their business calmly and productively and have sustainable outcomes continuously, because they know that they're doing something for the right reasons. And when the ugly things show up, they can actually handle them really, really well. And it only stops them in their tracks for a minute second, not months, years, like it has me. All right, guys, I will stop rambling, but it's been a pleasure. And again, please share your feedback, share comments, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mwah. Bye, guys.